Over 1,000 episodes in, and we've uncovered countless secrets of productivity. But there's one topic that's both a silent saboteur and an unassuming ally: anxiety. What happens when the very thought of being productive becomes the root of your anxiety? In this episode of the show, we dive deep into the corridors of our minds, exploring the light and shadow sides of anxiety. Hi, I'm Mark, and this is the Mr. Productivity Podcast, the podcast that's all about solopreneur productivity, simplified and delivered weekly in bite-sized 30-minute or less episodes. Now, before we dive into the heart of today's episode, I have something special to share with you. Every month, I host a live masterclass aimed at helping you increase your productivity as a solopreneur. We've covered a wide range of topics so far, everything from gaining clarity in your work to effective daily habits, decluttering your workspace, maintaining health and wellness, mastering time management, and how to achieve focus. And we're just getting started. If you want to ramp up your productivity and achieve more as a solopreneur, these masterclasses are a treasure trove of insights and practical tools. Head on over to my website, mrproductivity.com/masterclass, and sign up for the next one. Mr. is all spelled out, by the way, M-I-S-T-E-R, mrproductivity.com/masterclass. Learn from these interactive sessions, engage with a like-minded community, and transform the way you work. What are you waiting for? Head on over to mrproductivity.com/masterclass right now. All right, let's get started. Why in the world did I create this episode? Well, over the past 1,245 episodes, I have given you a massive amounts of information on how to be productive. And before I sat down and began planning this episode, I was talking to my wife and business partner about what I should do an episode about. And she replied, "You've given a lot of information over the years, but what if someone wants to be more productive, but just the thought of it causes anxiety, and this blocks them from even getting started?" See, this is why you marry a wife or a man or whoever, because they can see things you can't see. I love this idea. And so on this episode, I'm going to share with you the good and the bad about anxiety. And yes, there is a good side to anxiety. And I'll give you some tips for managing anxiety and improving your productivity. But first, what causes anxiety for me, Mr. Productivity? The unexpected. When I ask my wife that question, she goes, "Oh, it's the unexpected." When something unexpected happens, oh my goodness, I go from 0 to 60 when it comes to anxiety. Now, what are some examples? Well, my wife wanting to stop unexpectedly. So let's say we're on our way home from church, and I think we're just going to go home and watch the football game. That's soccer for most of the world, but I love European football. And she goes, "Oh, I want to stop here." That causes me a lot of anxiety. I always tell her, let me know, like, as soon as you have the thought in your head, which sometimes is in the moment, because that'll help with my anxiety. Also, when the internet goes down. A couple weeks ago, we lost the internet for 24 hours. Yeah, that caused me a great deal of anxiety. Getting sick. People not doing things the way I expected them to do them. Now, my wife quit her job and she is now my business partner, and she doesn't always do things the way I would do them, but she probably does them better than I do. And I got to learn to not let that raise my anxiety. When technology fails me, has technology ever failed you? Does that cause you anxiety when you can't send a message, you can't post or something? And finally, not being able to fall asleep or fall back asleep after you go visit the restroom during the night. Now, when I feel anxiety, maybe this isn't you, but when I feel anxiety, I feel anger, stress, and anxiety. I just realized in my notes that I wrote, I feel anxious when I feel anxiety. Not editing it out. That's just the way it is, folks. Now, here's an unpopular opinion. I've been saying for years, everybody procrastinates, and I'm going to add on to that, everyone deals with anxiety. Now, anxiety doesn't have to be a bad thing, as I already mentioned. In fact, there are both pros and cons to anxiety, so let's dive in. So what are the benefits of anxiety for productivity? Well, first, it causes increased focus and alertness. Anxiety can motivate people to focus on details and avoid distractions. This can be beneficial for tasks requiring high concentration levels, such as working on complex projects. Another benefit of anxiety is enhanced performance under pressure. Some people perform better under pressure, and anxiety can help increase adrenaline levels and improve focus. This can be beneficial for tasks that require quick thinking or decision making. And as I read that line, I thought of Tom Brady and all these really high caliber athletes. They strive under high anxiety load. Another benefit is increased motivation. Anxiety can motivate people to work harder to achieve their goals. This can be beneficial for people who are driven to succeed, which many solopreneurs and entrepreneurs are. And a final benefit I have for you about the pros of anxiety is greater attention to detail. Anxiety can make people more meticulous and careful. This can be beneficial for tasks that require precision and accuracy. But there are, of course, there's a bad side. There's cons to anxiety when it comes to your productivity. The first of which is reduced focus and concentration. Excessive anxiety can make it difficult to focus on tasks and stay on track. This can lead to mistakes and missed deadlines. Difficult making decisions. Anxiety can make it difficult to clearly and make decisions. This can be a problem for tasks that require quick thinking or problem solving. Then there's increased procrastination. I just told you everybody procrastinates. That was by design. Anxiety can make people feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. This can lead to procrastination and difficulty getting started on tasks. Then we have the decreased motivation. Chronic anxiety can lead to fatigue and burnout. This can make it difficult to focus and be productive. And finally, there are the physical symptoms of anxiety, which can cause physical symptoms such as sweating, trembling, and difficult breathing. These symptoms can make it difficult to concentrate and complete tasks. Now, overall, the impact of anxiety on productivity depends on the severity of anxiety and the individual's ability to manage it. Some people may find that anxiety can help them be more productive, while others may find it interferes with their ability to get things done. If you are struggling to manage anxiety and it is impacting your productivity, I have some tips for you. First of which is to identify your triggers. What are the things that typically make you feel anxious? Now, I don't want you to think about it as you're listening to this podcast. I want you to make a note to journal about this later. This is something I do. If I hear somebody ask a great question that I think I need to journal about it, I will write it down. And then later on, when I'm journaling, I will answer that question. So don't just, I think it's this. No, gift yourself the time to journal about the question, what are the things that typically make you feel anxious? There's power to writing these things down. Why? Because once you know your triggers, you can start to develop strategies for coping with them. But if you don't write them down, if you don't acknowledge them, it's very difficult to create strategies for coping with them on the fly. Another tip is practice relaxation techniques. There are a number of relaxation techniques that can help you reduce anxiety. These include deep breathing, meditation, and yoga. Don't overthink the process. Just go to YouTube, type in, how do I deep breathe? How do I meditate? How do I do yoga? Start simple, because if you make it too complex in the beginning, you're not going to follow through. Set realistic goals. Don't try to do too much at once. Break down large tasks into smaller, more manageable ones. We have the SMART goals, which are goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, there's our word, and time-bound. And I want you to consider, as you're creating your goals, I want you to think about today. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast at 7 o'clock at night, this would be tomorrow. What do you want to get done tomorrow? Now, the daily goals I count as targets. That's a word I got from Grant Cardone. But what do you want to do? What are your goals for the week or the month or the quarter or for the year or 3 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out? Give yourself goals and then break those goals down into smaller tasks, smaller steps, if you will. For example, one of my goals in 2024 is to release a book by the end of 2024, which means I have until December 31st, 2024 to release my book. Now, I'm not going to sit down and write the whole book in one sitting. I'll sit down and go, okay, what do I want the book to be about? What do I want the outline to look like? And so I can break these steps down into really simple steps for me to start achieving my goal of releasing a book in 2024. Another idea is to take breaks. It's important to take breaks throughout the day to avoid burnout. I want you to get up and move around, or even better, get up, move around, and step outside. If you can do it in nature, even better. Leave your tech behind. Or if you have to take it with you for safety reasons, put it on Do Not Disturb. Bring a notebook and a pen. That's when inspiration hits you. You can jot your notes down instead of opening up your phone. I'm just going to the Notes app, and all of a sudden you're surfing Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. Write it in a notebook. It's going to mean more because then it's just your pen and the notebook. Okay. But get out in nature. Now, here in Houston, we have been unbearably hot since the beginning of June 2023. And now, as I'm recording this in mid-September, we're finally starting to cool down. And now I can start going to different parks and getting out in the nature without my technology. And finally, seek professional help. If you are struggling to manage anxiety on your own, maybe you go talk to a therapist or a counselor, maybe get yourself a coach or a mentor. These people can teach you coping skills and help you to develop a treatment plan. Anxiety will not go away if you ignore it. I promise you. You have to do something with the anxiety in order to learn how to deal with it. So here's my challenge for you. What is one thing that you are not currently doing as a result of listening to this episode that you will start doing now? I want you to DM me on X, formerly known as Twitter, or on LinkedIn. You can also go to MrProductivity.com and send me a message, but I want you to take this to another level and embrace social accountability. What this is you record a video on your phone. Don't overthink it. Don't make it special and put makeup on or comb your hair. Just create a video and say, hey, I listened to this podcast called the Mr. Productivity Podcast, and they challenged me to put this online. This is something I'm going to start doing to deal with my anxiety. Don't be ashamed if you are anxious. Everybody experiences anxiety. And if anybody comes up to me and says, I don't experience anxiety, then you're a robot. You're AI. Because if you're human, I don't care who you are, you will experience anxiety, and you have experienced anxiety. So I really want to hear from you. So don't forget to reach out. Share this episode with 2 or 3 people that you know that need to hear what I just talked about. They will thank you, as will I. And finally, don't forget to head on over to MrProductivity.com, M-I-S-T-E-R, MrProductivity.com. There you can find out about my latest live masterclass. Every month I go live. You can read my blog, find out about my one-on-one coaching. Anything you want to know about me, Mr. Productivity, is at MrProductivity.com. Thank you so much for your time and attention for listening to this episode of the podcast. I'll be back real soon with a brand new episode. But until then, remember, stay productive and stay positive.